everybody, Crista here with another episode of the Barefoot Genealogist. I've got my shoes off and my green on, and today we're talking about Irish research. I have a few Irish ancestors in my own family tree. When I checked into the live stream broadcast shortly before I went live, there were over 200 of you watching this live, and I was already seeing notes fly by about time periods and places in Ireland that you're interested in. And we've only got 20 minutes today, so that's a little bit of a unique challenge. My most recent Irish immigrant immigrated in the 1840s. The furthest one back that I've been able to trace immigrated in the 1780s. So we've got huge time spans and a whole country to cover in 20 minutes or less. And that's probably not going to happen. So I just want to set some expectations right up front. I'm going to provide you with some basic information about Irish research, and then I'm also going to provide you with some resources where you can go to find more information in depth about your specific research challenge. And then, of course, as always, after we finish here, I'll hop online on chat and see if I can't spend a half hour or 45 minutes or so with you answering some of your more specific questions in a little bit more detail. Hopefully that helps you know where we're going. Let's dive in. Okay, the first piece of advice that I'm going to give you about doing Irish research is not going to be news to any of you, I hope, but it is to exhaust all resources in the United States first. Now, that's not as exciting, right? Everybody wants to jump back to Ireland. I've had the pleasure of traveling there, and I can tell you that it is just as beautiful and just as magical as you would expect Ireland to be. And the allure is really strong to just want to dive in to finding your ancestor there. However, if you don't exhaust all resources in the United States first, you're going to run into a lot of challenges. One of mine, for example, is my maternal grandfather's maternal grandfather. His name is John O'Brien, which is hugely Irish and hugely commonly Irish. And so it runs into a bit of a challenge trying to find him in any records, especially when he lied on so many records here in the United States, including records, military records and documents to his family. So don't just exhaust all U.S. resources about the person, but I would recommend that you also research everything you can about their families and their associates and neighbors as well. This kind of cluster research helps you understand more about where they could have come from in Ireland. What we find often is that immigrants tended to cluster together with people from the same places as them. So not just other Irish, but also, specifically maybe people from this village or this region in a particular county in Ireland. So doing that whole cluster research, understanding who their family was, where they came from, who their neighbors and associates were, who they attended church with, all of that helps you to start to understand and get a little bit closer to where in Ireland they may have come from. Just a few of the resources you can use to do that. Look for immigration records on Ancestry.com, specifically naturalization records. Naturalization records in the early 1900s oftentimes list a very specific place of birth, right down to the town or the village. Before that, it's a little bit more rare, but not unheard of to have that specificity in that naturalization paperwork. Look for obituaries in local newspapers. Those are going to be a huge resource to you. I've seen obituaries from the early 1900s, even the late 1800s, where people were born in the early 1800s, and their obituary will list the exact town, again, that they came from in Ireland. And don't forget those children. I've even seen obituaries as late as the mid-1900s where the child was born here in the United States to Irish parents, but their obituary will list where the parents were born as well. So again, that whole family research becomes really important. Military service records, newspaper articles, lots of different resources available, but make sure you exhaust all those U.S. resources first. Now, for those of you who are new to genealogy, you may not know what happened to Irish census records. So here's kind of a short, condensed version of that. The 1820s were all destroyed in a fire in Four Courts in 1922. It was during the Irish Civil War. There was an explosion, and all of those documents were destroyed. However, there have been some attempts at recreation or substitutes, and I'll show you where to find some of those here in just a minute. Also, just so you know, the 1861 and 1871 censuses were destroyed in 1886. Unfortunately, it was a terrible mistake. The 1881 and 1891 censuses were pulped by a government order during World War I, presumably because of a paper shortage. So the available censuses for Ireland are going to be 1901 and 1911. Those were opened early. In Ireland, they have a 100-year privacy rule, but they went ahead and have opened those already. They have had them open for a while because specifically of requests of genealogists. And I'll show you again in a minute where to find access to those. On Ancestry.com, we have a lot of databases and over 28 million records of Irish records. And so let's just hop onto Ancestry.com right now so I can start to show you where to find some of these records. For those of you who are not familiar with my favorite resource, if you hover over that search button and scroll right down to the card catalog, that's going to give you a full list of every database we have on Ancestry.com. Doing that, you have these filters over here on the left-hand side. First, you're going to be able to filter by collection. I'm going to scroll right past that. Then you have the option here to filter by location. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Europe. And then I'm going to see another list come up here of countries in Europe. I'm going to scroll down to Ireland and click on that. You'll see here it lists 167 databases. When we give you this list, we always sort it by popularity, but I like to change that sometimes. You can sort it by database title. In this case, I'm going to sort it by record count. Put the largest databases at the top of the list. What you're going to see really quickly here is that we have a birth index that covers from 1864 through 1958. There are over 9 million records in that database. We have a death index that covers that same time period with over 6 million records, and a marriage index, again, for the same time period. Actually, it goes back to 1845, so a couple of decades earlier, that has 4.5 million records. Great resource. There's also a close to 4 million record database here for Ireland births and baptisms that start in 1620. Let's just take a look at that as an example. If you've heard me present before, you know that when you get to a specific database, I always recommend that you scroll past that search box and read the database description here. It lets you know exactly what these records are, where they came from, what was indexed, so that you know what you're searching. These records are just fantastic and really useful, and if you just do a simple search, what I would recommend is doing a surname search, and if you happen to know the county where your family was from, then go ahead and put that in and just see what comes up. When you're searching in baptismal records or birth records, sometimes a surname-only search rather than a first name and a surname will lead you to more information about siblings or family members. Your specific ancestor may not be listed, but a brother or sister might be. They might be listed on a record as a parent, and so this kind of helps get around that just with one search so that you can see what comes up right away. That's the Ireland Births and Baptisms database. A couple of other important databases here on Ancestry.com. Griffith's Valuation. Griffith's Valuation was taken, they started it right about the time of the potato famine, and again, scroll down past that search box so that you can read the database descriptions. This is mostly about people who occupied property in Ireland between 1848 and 1864, and so the purpose was to valuate for taxes, but it helps you understand exactly who was living on what property, whether they owned the property or were renting the property. It's a great census substitute for that purpose. Speaking of census substitutes, let's see if I can find it here in just a quick look. It doesn't look like it. There is, if I click on this filter by collection, I can look at just the census records or census substitutes for Ireland. Here we have an 1841-1851 census abstract. What this is it is a collection that was created from pension records mostly as a substitute for those censuses that were destroyed in the 1922 fire. So it's not a huge collection, but it is hugely valuable for people who are looking for family members in the 1841-1851 time period. Now, I know that that was a lot of information thrown at you really quickly, but let me just do a quick review of how you get there for those of you who need a little bit of repetition to learn like I do. Under the search button, hover over that, go down to card catalog. When you get to the card catalog, you're going to need to click on Europe to filter by location, and then scroll down to Ireland, and that will give you a complete list of all 167 databases containing Irish records on Ancestry.com. You can sort it however you'd like, and if you want, you can filter it by record collection so that you can just explore what records even exist or are available on Ancestry.com. Hopefully that will help you. Again, it's hard to get more specific than that because people are looking for people in the 1700s and in the 1800s and in the 1900s, and with our limited time, that's all I can show you right now. Let me just get back to a couple of other things that I want to share with you here. I have some resources outside of Ancestry.com that are free, that I love and that I use all the time when doing Irish research. These are just 3 of them, and I don't expect you to remember these. I will put these online later today so that you can click directly through to them, but I did want to show them to you just so that you start to get a little familiar with them. The first one is the missing friends ads in the Boston Pilot. The Boston Pilot was a newspaper that in 1831 ran their first ad that was placed by an individual who was looking for an Irish immigrant into the United States. They ran those advertisements for 90 years, and Boston College has put those online for free. You can find them. It's infowanted.bc.edu, and like I said, I'll put links on our blog later today, but here is where you find those. They give you some examples. There's some history there. If you just click on the home button, you can actually then search for the person that you are looking for and see if anything comes up. Now here we have a bunch of results that come back from that search, but only one William Cowan, and it'll tell you information about the person that they were looking for, the person who was seeking that information. Oftentimes it was somebody in Ireland still. Sometimes it was somebody who had come to the United States separately, and so they were looking to reconnect with that person. But oftentimes it was somebody still in Ireland. Sometimes it's just a friend. Very frequently it's a family member. So all of this then becomes just really, really valuable information. Again, that's Boston College's Information Wanted, which are advertisements for Irish immigrants published in the Boston Pilot from 1831 to 1921. That 1901 and 1911 Irish census that I talked about earlier, it's online at the National Archives. I misspelled that URL now that I'm looking at that. It's online at the National Archives. Again, I'll put that URL online later today, but let me just have you take a look at it really quickly. The National Archives of Ireland. Here's just some brief information about the census and other places you can go. You can click on this Search Census button. Again, this is a free resource. You can toggle between 1901 and 1911 depending on which census year you're looking at, and then just plug in information about the family that you're looking for. You can do simple surname searches with counties, or you can put in first names as well to see what results you get. You can put in as much or as little information as you want. It returns then results. You can click on those results and it will take you to information that was recorded in that particular census. The residence location is listed up here across the top. Here then it lists the household members, age, gender, relationship to head of household, and religion. You can actually then view the census images and take a look at that kind of information. So it's a really great website. Again, these are free resources. Again, these are free resources that the people have put up online. Sorry about that background noise. Okay, the third free resource that I want to share with you is from the Public Records Office of Northern Ireland. Oh, There we go. The Public Records Office of Northern Ireland. They actually have placed will calendars online from 1858 to 1943 for these three locations or districts, district courts. Again, this is a free resource. I keep clicking through to that wrong screen. You can find it on the Public Records Office of Northern Ireland's website. If you click on Search the Archives, you'll see a list of all the different things that they have digitized and put online. And specifically the one that I use most frequently, or that I am most impressed with, are these will calendars. A brief introduction about them, you can then search them, and it will list who the will was for, their date of death if it was available, the date that will was probated, and then a full abstract of that will, which will provide you with other people listed in the will. And so you end up with some really rich information, again, about family members. One of the reasons why it's so important to research family and associates here in the United States before you just jump back to Ireland and start searching those records. So that, again, is the Public Record Office of Northern Ireland, and it's their will calendars. Okay, last thing here that, or last couple of things that I want to share with you. Not sure why my screen just went black. Let's see if I can pull that back up. Well, it's going to give me a little bit of a headache. Give me just a second here, and let's see if we can't get that fixed. I'm still here. We're just trying to figure out where my PowerPoint went. Well, I think my screen's gone black. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. It says that I'm still recording. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, next. So on Ancestry.com, we have hour and sometimes hour and a half or 2 hour long webinars. All of those are available for free. You can find them under our Learning Center, and you'll see an option for webinars. So you'll find that, again, in Ancestry.com under the Learning Center. Go down to webinars. We have a webinar that was done last March for St. Patrick's Day by two preeminent Irish researchers in the country, and it's called Finding Your Irish Ancestors in America and Ireland, presented by an Irish-American researcher, and then Eileen, who actually lives in Ireland and has done probably more Irish research than anybody I know. So you can access that, again, for free. Just click on Watch Video. You'll have some great resources there, maybe some more in-depth information than what I was able to provide you with today. And they answer a lot of questions about how to do this research. They tackle some of the specific challenges with Irish research, and they show you some great resources for accessing records to help you get through those Irish brick walls. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, I will be posting links to all the things I've talked about today. So if you check out our blog later today, I'll have all those available. That address is blogs.ancestry.com. It's the only URL you have to remember today, because all the others I'll put on a post there. Again, that's blogs.ancestry.com, and you can have access to all of these Irish resources. Whew, we did it in less than 20 minutes. That's a lot of information to throw at you. I will be on live stream chat immediately following this presentation. If you have more specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you're watching this as an archived version, please use the resources available here, specifically this Learning Center webinar, to get more specific information and more detailed information about how to tackle your Irish research projects. In the meantime, if you have other questions, suggestions for future webinars, or ideas that you'd like us to tackle, please email at ask@ancestry.com. We don't answer those emails personally, but we do read them all and use your research challenges to help us craft presentations like this, articles on our Tumblr blog, and in our newsletters. It helps us understand specifically what problems you're researching, and helps us to craft those messages. That's all I've got for you today. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. I hope you all have a happy St. Patrick's Day, and have fun climbing your family tree, no matter which direction you're going.